Hi, this is Jason Rohrer, and this is the seventh and final tutorial video for Sleep is Death. This video presents a collection of tips and tricks about features of the game that haven't been covered in any of the previous videos. So to start this tutorial off, I've created a fresh install of the game on this computer. Now this happens to be Macintosh, but regardless of what platform you're on, this is what your game folder is going to look like immediately after installation. This is a platform-independent game, and that means it doesn't put things in platform-specific locations when it extracts itself onto your computer. It doesn't stick things into your start menu, it doesn't put things into your registry, it doesn't hide things in your systems folder, or make hidden files in your home directory. Everything that's needed for the game, everything concerning the game, is in this one single game folder. And that means a couple of things. First of all, if you ever need to make a backup of the game, or copy the game from one computer to another, or put the game on a USB memory stick to take it someplace, or even uninstall the game, the only thing you need to deal with is this one folder. You don't need to go hunting around your computer to find all the hidden spots where the game has saved important data. Nor do you need to run some sort of special uninstaller to get the game off your computer. The other thing that it means is that the game needs to be installed in a place that you have write permissions to. If you try to install the game in some location where the computer tells you need administrator access to continue with the installation, stop doing it. Don't do that, because later on when you run the game and you're not running it as administrator, the game is going to run into trouble when it tries to write files into the folder. And it does write a lot of files into this folder. Different settings that it saves, saving resources, saving flipbooks. Some people have had trouble because they installed the game in a spot that the game couldn't write to. So make sure you put it in a spot like My Documents or on your desktop or in some folder that you've created so that you know that you have write permissions to it. So before launching the game from this folder, I want to make sure that the game doesn't run in full screen mode because I'm doing this tutorial video and I need to switch back and forth from one window to another. So I'm going to open the fullscreen.ini file in the settings folder and change the 1 in this file to a 0, save the file, and close the window. Now back out to the main game folder, and now when we launch the game, it will run in windowed mode instead of in full screen mode. There's a bunch of other settings in that folder that you might want to poke around at. So the next thing I'm going to talk about here before launching the game is the resource cache. As you know, the game ships with a bunch of pre-made objects, and those all start off in this resource cache folder. I'm not going to describe the layout of this folder in any detail. However, you should know that all the resources that you create, all the music and scenes and objects and sprites and so on, are all saved into this resource cache folder as you create them. So if you need to make a backup of your resources, or you need to make a copy of your resource cache folder because you're about to change a bunch of stuff significantly and you want to save an old version, or you want to give all of the resources that you've ever made to your friend, or most importantly, if you're upgrading to a new version of Sleep is Death and you want to copy your old resources across to the new version, all you need to do is copy this resource cache folder. The final thing I'm going to talk about in this game folder is the loading bay. This is the place where you can drop pack files to be loaded to load new resources into your resource database when the game starts up. This is a pack file that I've downloaded from the SidTube website. This is the Smoke and Glass and Mirrors resource pack, and I put it here in the loading bay, and that means that when I start the game up, it's going to be loaded into my resource database. Okay, so now I'm going to launch the game. I'm going to try and align the game window so that's pretty much lined up with the video frame. There's one thing I wanted to say about the choices that are available on this menu that have been confusing people a little bit. What's the difference between host a local network game and host a remote internet game? So some people have been really confused by this because they don't have universal plug and play on their router, so opening a port automatically is failing, so then they go and create a port manually and forward that port, and then they come back in and try to host a game, and it still says that opening the port failed. So what does that mean? Hosting a remote internet game, the only thing it does differently is it uses universal plug and play to try and open a port in your router and try and find your external IP address. That's the only difference between a local and a remote game. So if you're already opening the port manually anyway, and you're already determining your IP address through some other means besides universal plug and play, you don't even need to host a remote internet game. But even if you do, it doesn't matter that it's complaining that it can't open the port, because of course it can't open the port. Universal plug and play isn't working. So that's all that means. So if you're opening the port manually, you might as well just host a local network game and then give your friend your real external IP address that you found through What's My IP or Can You See Me, or one of those web services that helps you find your external IP address. So I'm going to go ahead, and I've actually got my network cable completely unplugged here for this demonstration, so it can't even find my internal IP address. I'm going to hit G to start playing without a connection. Let's make sure that that resource pack that we wanted to load has been added. There it is. the white room scene with some pretty cool smoke objects with some transparency and some fire and some cool drop shadows and this little diamond object and some other cool stuff here. So that's looking great. Okay, so now I'm going to switch to just another scene to do a demonstration of another feature here. So what I'm going to talk about next is this little transparency toggle that exists in all the pickers that deal with objects that have transparency in them. So this toggle, as you can see, turns off this background tile that's being shown behind the objects in the picker. So I touched on this briefly in one of the previous tutorials, but where are these tiles coming from? They're coming from underneath the anchor position of the currently selected object. And if we move the currently selected object around, we can see that the background tile being used to give context to these objects in this object picker changes. Furthermore, if we have different objects that we're switching back and forth between, that tile will follow whatever object is currently selected. Now, if we're editing, we're searching for tan objects here, and we have a tan tile selected by accident, and it's not working well. We can turn it on. We can just turn it off and look at a black background. The other thing we can do is, of course, move our selected object to a better spot to find a better tile. So, the other thing is that this background tile is also used in the object editor to provide context to the object as we edit it, used in the sprite picker. And finally, it's used in the mini view of the sprite that we're currently editing and drawing. So as we're editing and drawing pixels into the sprite, that background tile is shown in the mini view, and we can toggle it on and off along with the entire picker like this. So that explains the usage of these transparency toggles. The final thing I'm going to talk about in terms of editing is the color palette. So if we open up the color editor and pick one of these color wells and modify it, and add a new color to that spot and pick a different color well, and let's say we want a yellow color there, add a new color to that spot. So we're modifying this color palette. If we look out in our game folder now, we'll see this palette.txt file has been created. This file saves all of the colors that are in our palette immediately after we start editing it the first time. And next time we load the game will load from palette.txt and recreate this palette exactly as we see it here. So that means that if we want to make a backup of a palette to use later, if we want to send a palette to a friend once we've created a cool color set, or we want to create multiple palettes and swap them in and out, all we need to deal with is this palette.txt file here. The final thing I'm going to talk about is resource packs and how to create them. I showed how to load them before. Let's close out these editors and let's pick a couple of scenes. Let's look for some yard scenes. So the way that resource packs work, resource packs are based on scenes. So if you want to take a bunch of objects and put them together into your resource pack, you need to create a scene for those objects to live in. So let's actually create an empty scene and pick some objects that we want. Let's say that we wanted all of the beds that we've created. So we've got 5 different beds here. We can drag them all out into the scene and leave them there like that. So we've got one more bed to go. Did I miss one? Yeah, this bed with the brown post there. Okay, so we've got 5 beds in the scene, and now we can give this scene a name, call it beds, and add it to our picker. And now if we search for beds, there it is in the database. So there's our bed scene. So let's say that we want to add this to a resource pack. All we do is click this add button. So now we see that this resource has been added to the pack, and that icon changes. So let's add a couple of bedrooms also with some rooms and so on. So let's add this to the pack. And here's another bedroom scene. Let's add this to the pack as well. So we've got a selection of beds and 2 different scenes that use those beds along with their backgrounds. Let's pick the heartbeat music, add that to the resource pack as well, and one other piece of music and add that to the resource pack. Okay, so we've got 2 pieces of music. We've got 3 scenes that have been added to the resource pack. And if we're in doubt, we just click on each one and see that indeed they have all still been added. If we switch back to our stack mode and pick that other Eve Forest scene, we'll see that that one has not been added. This one has not been added, the Smoke and Mirrors one. But these 3 ones have. Okay, so once we got everything into our resource pack that we want, all we need to do is click this save button to save everything in the accumulated pack. And now if we click these again, we'll see that they're no longer marked as saved because everything's been sent out to disk. Okay, so now if we go and look back in our game directory, we'll see that we have a resource packs folder waiting here. So if we open that folder, we'll see that it has one pack inside of it, 1.pak, which is the default name for the first pack that we've created, and that will have those 3 scenes and all those objects in it waiting to go. So that's the end of this tutorial. Thank you.